Pause now.
Oh boy. That's crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Welcome to Read On. I have to go look that up. Read On number 66. I'm slowly getting to 100. So today we have 4 authors that are all celebrating their book 2 in their series. So we have Amy Christine Parker. This is book 1, and I did not fix my stack here before I started this. So let me do this. Okay, and book 2 that has just released. These are the new covers of Astray. So we can give it up for Amy. Next up today we have, of course, your books are at the bottom of the stack I just made. We have author Christina Farley of Gilded and Silverin. Ooh, and I've got glare. Okay, there we go. And for her, we also have a little poster to give away as well. Woohoo! Gotta love posters. And then, why are all these books always at the bottom? It's so weird. Then we have Demitria. Is it Lunetta?
Yep.
Is that right? And here's book 1 and 2 of In the After and In the End. And last but not least, we have Find Me and Remember Me from Romily Bernard, and I'm running out of hands. So the winners for today's show, which it is actually going to run until the end of the month now, you will win books 1 and 2. So you cannot beat that. So up first, we will get into the questions here. You guys can come on and introduce yourself, and first up is Amy.
Okay. So I'm Amy Parker, and I wrote Gated and Astray, and I kind of specialize in contemporary thrillers, but I also like to dabble in sci-fi and horror as well. And that's about it for me. I hang out at home, and I like to collect cookbooks. I don't know, we're not supposed to probably say that yet, right? Okay.
Christina?
All right. Hey guys, my name is Christina Farley, and I'm the author of Gilded and Silvern. And a little bit about me, I lived overseas for about 10 years, 8 of which were in Seoul, Korea, which is the setting for the Gilded series. And yeah, I'm just excited about being here and hanging out with you today. It'll be fun.
And Demitria?
Hi, I'm Demitria Lunetta. My first book was In the After. It's young adult post-apocalyptic. It's about these creatures that appear on the planet and basically devour everyone, and it came from my love of horror, sci-fi, any scary movies and books.
Romily?
I'm Romily Bernard. I wrote Find Me and Remember Me, and I'm in the middle of finishing up Trust Me, which is going to be the last of the trilogy. I do sort of like YA thriller, suspense mysteries. They usually have like a techie sort of edge to them.
Okay. So the first question is your series, is it a duology? Is it a trilogy? What is it? Amy?
Oh, okay, I'm like, who is this? Okay. Gated and Astray are a duology. So Astray is the last book in that series, and then I'm now working currently on a different book. It's a heist book, and it's called Smash and Grab, and that'll be out in about a year, like 2016 in the spring, I believe. So that's it for Gated and Astray. The story is over after Astray.
And is it a connected of book 1 and book 2, or are they companion novels?
No, it's the sequel, so it's absolutely
So
the same character story throughout both books. Yeah.
Okay. And Christina?
Yeah, mine is a trilogy. I can't say much about the third book yet, but there's definitely a plan for 3, and especially after the end of 2. And right now I'm working on a new series, so having fun with that. And you know, I really love the fantasy and the kind of the contemporary fantasy, melding the two. So I'm having fun with doing these different kinds of projects with that.
And yours is a connected physical series. They're not companion
Yep,
novels.
they're one right after the next. They're a few months apart. Actually, if you notice that Gilded is set in the winter, and Silvern is set in the spring, and the last book is set in the summer. I guess I should have had 4, right? Oh.
Demitria?
So my books are duology, so in the end is the end. And yeah.
And is it they are a connected series, it's not a companion?
Yep, the second one starts off almost exactly where the first one leaves off. And it's kind of strange actually because I wrote the first one as a standalone, but my wonderful editor at Harper Teen saw that it could go so many more places, so then we added it, the second book on.
And Romily with the puppy.
Sorry. We're not very professional around here. I'm so sorry. He won't be quiet without being like petted. Yeah, no. Find Me actually. Yeah, it's a trilogy. Find Me is the first. Remember Me takes place, I think, probably about like 2 months, 3 months after Find Me ends, and then Trust Me, the third one takes place like pretty much immediately picks up right after Remember Me Remember Me ends. And then I have like a novella from the hero's point of view that we did also. That's kind of like a prequel to Find Me, but it sort of overlaps at the same time.
Okay. The next question is, will you be going trick-or-treating? Now, I know some of you guys are moms.
Yeah, are we going in order? So am I going first?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll prepare every time. I'm totally going trick-or-treating. Halloween is huge at my house. In fact, like the front room of my house is a living room, dining room combination. And I'm in here because that's usually my office, but my husband's like converting it to a haunted house in the next week because we have a huge Halloween party and we make that room like a haunted thing for our daughters. So they have their friends over, they decorate pumpkins, and then they go through the little haunted house. And then, yeah, we trick-or-treat big time. He does like a huge yard thing. One year it was a UFO with aliens. Last year was zombies. And this year is spiders and bugs.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, he's a pest guy. Like, what are you going to do? He gets rid of bugs, so now we have them all over our house.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I am. Well, I don't know if I'm actually going to dress up. My boys always tell me I need to dress up because I have 2 costumes I really love. One is my Princess Leia costume, and one is my Jedi costume. Because I'm a little obsessed with Star Wars. So I am taking my boys, and we'll run about town, and we'll get tons of candy, and they have to give me all peppermint patties.
Payment at its best.
Exactly.
I don't go trick-or-treating. I don't have children, so I feel like that would be a little strange if I was just wandering around my neighborhood begging people for candy. But my husband and I, we definitely dress up every year. Last year we went for the Star Trek theme, which was really fun because I got to wear green body paint. And this year I'm not quite sure what we're going to do. Maybe Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not sure. Maybe Vikings. But yeah, we go all out for Halloween. I love it. I love October.
Romily?
That's so cool. Like, you guys all have much better ideas than I do. I love Halloween, but we're out in like the boondocks, so no kids come around. I can't give out candy or anything. But seriously, Amy, I want to go to your house. You
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh my God.
I don't know about that. That sounds a little too scary for me.
It sounds awesome. Yeah, and you know what? Guardians of the Galaxy probably would be like the perfect costume. It's a really good one, Demitria. Yeah, so unfortunately, I'll be like living vicariously through all of y'all on Pinterest. So yeah, I love Halloween. I would probably go trick-or-treating if I actually had kids, but yeah, no kids, and we're not near any neighborhoods, so I can't even like be the creepy old lady that like sits out on my porch and watches people go by.
See, you should have had made up like, I don't know, like little sample packets of like your books. You could hand those out for Halloween.
Seriously, especially because like my books actually take place in my hometown, so I'm still kind of like in the area. So yeah, that would be, they'd have a good time figuring out like, oh, that's what she was talking about. I've been there.
My daughters went to go see Box Trolls, so now that's what they want to be for Halloween.
Oh, very cool.
So don't you want to go as Frozen? Hello Kitty? And they want to be Box Trolls. At least that's pretty easy. All right, let's see. The next question is, what was the hardest part, or the hardest process of writing a second book?
Oh, okay. Writing under contract for me, that was huge because it was the first time I'd ever done that. So knowing that this time, if I screwed it up, like there was an editor that was going to read it no matter what I did, and that was scary, I think. And plus, at the end of Gated, if you've read that, and I'm not going to give away spoilers, but it was difficult with the villain, keeping him present, and yet he's there and he's not in a lot of scenes. So it was kind of like this, trying to figure out how to keep the suspense up with him very much in it still, but yet not right directly in front of her at all times. He's sort of lurking a lot. So that part was hard. But I think mainly just the expectation that now there's a book out there, and now I have to write something that's as good and hopefully better the second time around.
Yeah. I guess for me it was the North Korea scenes, because the rest of the books, I've been in all those locations. I chose all my favorite places in Seoul and outside of Seoul, and I wrote about them. But I had not actually been to the border of North Korea, but not inside the country because, you're not allowed to go in. So I was really in a dilemma, and my editor really wanted me to do an extra scene in there, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. So I called up my friend. She's the one that kind of inspired the idea of going into North Korea because she did it herself, taking medicine to TB patients. So I called her up. She lives in Holland right now, and I said, hey, we need to Skype. So we Skyped, and I'm like, I need to know all the details. I need to know, like, what it smells like and what it looks like, everything, like the paint color. She's like, that is really weird. So I'm like, but it was fun. It was fun hearing all about her journey, and pretty much all the details in the book are exactly what she told me, even to the part about the chains on the doors and not letting people out. So it was fun.
I think for me, the hardest part was, since the first book was a standalone, was to make sure that the threads from the first book carried on through to the second book. So what plot points I wanted to wrap up in the second book, and I had left some things open-ended that I wanted to, that my editor very much wanted answered for the reader. So I think it was harder to go back and edit the first book and make sure that everything was going to line up for the second book.
Yeah, I feel you on that one, Demitria. I wrote. I'm so sorry. Were you done? I was just like jumping right in there. I didn't mean to.
No, I'm done. Go for it.
Okay. No. Yeah, writing. Yeah, I wrote. Find Me was a standalone, and so when they asked for 2 more, I was like, yay, sure. And I had 0 ideas. So like for me, the hardest part of like the second book was all of it. Like it was ridiculous. And not only did I have like stage fright and writer's block, and I'd had to rip up my ending and like figure out how like I would springboard into something else, and yeah, it was tough. It was really tough. I mean, I was happy to do it. I mean, it just, yeah, that was a pretty steep learning curve. I think all of us are probably on the same boat because you're writing your second book on contract, and it's just it's something else. My gosh.
The next question is for Demitria, and it is from Karen, and she wants to know, did you know what you wanted to write Jax? Did you know you wanted to write Jax when you were writing in the after, or when was the idea of Jax born?
I think for that character, it was when I was trying to figure out what to do for the second book. My first book doesn't have a lot of romance in it at all. But I wanted there to sort of be, in the second book, this more solid romantic interest for my main character. So I think it was it definitely wasn't when I was writing the first book, but it was sort of figuring out what I was going to do for the second book is when Jax appeared in all his wonderful tattooed glory.
Okay, let's see. The next question is there a favorite book you like to read around Halloween?
Are we starting at the top again?
Yep, Christina.
Favorite book for me? I would say this book called Astray by Amy Christine Parker. No, seriously, I read that not too long ago, and it totally freaked me out. Like, I'm like, this is the perfect Halloween read, and I couldn't sleep that night. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, she freaked me out.
And I so met Amy first, and I went by your middle name. It's like the first thing I see. And I'm trying to do like 80,000 things at once over here. Hi. Okay, Amy.
For me, it's anything, honestly, by Stephen King. I love Stephen King. I'm, like, obsessed, honestly. Since 6th grade, I read his short stories. There was one called Grandma, which is, like, my favorite short story by him. And it's about this grandma who's a witch, and she's calling her son up, or her grandson up the stairs to come see her. And it's because she's going to take over his body and soul. And he doesn't want to go upstairs, and he doesn't know she's a witch. He just has this bad feeling. And it's this whole, like, back and forth between the two of them the whole time. And it's just sort of like in Pet Sematary, there's that sister that's sort of crippled and in the back room that freaked me out entirely. The same kind of feel of this person that's, like, sick and ill and calling. And he wants to help her because he feels this duty to do it, but he's also scared of her. And that idea totally fascinates me. So anything by Stephen King, particularly It, is one of my favorites, but also Pet Sematary and that short story Grandma.
I still don't like clowns to this day. Demitria?
I think for me, I always read scary books and end of the world stuff and ghost stories. So I don't really have a favorite one that I always read in October. I love all the scary movies that come on TV in October, though, which isn't really helpful. But I guess anything by Stephen King, really. If you read it in October, even the stuff that's not scary, it still makes it scary somehow.
I'll have to go with the, I guess I'm third in the Stephen King. I think he's absolutely fabulous pretty much any time of the year. I really love the atmosphere in Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea. I think April did just a stellar job of that. I think she's...
I love that book, yeah.
Oh my gosh, so good.
I haven't read that one yet.
It's good.
Oh, yeah,
it's
very good.
It's so
she's around here somewhere.
amazing author. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. So that one's really good. But I think Neil Gaiman sometimes is a lot of fun to read, like when you're looking for something that's a little bit creepy and, you know, definitely atmosphere.
My daughters love his book about, what is it, Forget the Milk or something? It's not
yeah,
Fortunately the Milk. They love that thing.
And Joe Hill's really good, too. Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, and he writes some really great creepy stuff as well. He did Nosferatu not too long ago, and Horns was made into a movie, and Heart Shaped Box was really creepy.
Ooh. The Heart Shaped Box, that sounds creepy.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, who was the most interesting character you wrote? Amy?
Okay, I was...
back into the correct order.
My favorite character to write, or most interesting, was Pioneer, and that's the villain in my story. I like to write villains. I think they're fun. And mainly because you could just be really bad. I mean, everything that's awful and, you know, prohibited and all of those things you get to play around with, so I really like to write the villains. So Pioneer is my favorite so far.
Yeah, I mean, and my villain in book 2 is, well, it's kind of a little bit of a spoiler, but, anyway, yeah. So I have a character called King Day, and I had a lot of fun writing him because he's one of my favorite characters, and I love how he works and how he acts and how manipulative he is, and I just had a lot of fun with him as a character, and he continues on into the 3rd book, and yeah, it's kind of fun.
For me, my favorite character to write, I guess, would be Amber from the 1st book, which seems kind of strange. She's not like a hardcore villain. She's kind of more like morally ambiguous, I guess. But it was really fun to write a character like that who you kind of loathe, but you also understand at the same time. She's just sort of trying to survive. And I feel like I had a lot in common with her, and at the same time, I had very little in common with her, which is also a weird thing. Because I was wondering what would I do to survive, and maybe it would be some of the things she did, but at the same time it's like, ugh, you know, like. So those are the best, I feel, for me, the best characters to write, the ones that you can see yourself in, but at the same time you don't want to, I guess. And it's a little scary, but it was really fun to write her character.
I guess for me it would be the second hacker that I introduced in Remember Me. Milo is kind of, I mean, he's kind of like a quasi bad guy. He knows it. He's fine with it. He has no problem like running over other people to you know, get what he wants. For some reason, he came out with like all the best lines. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Like when you have a character that just for some reason just like, oh, and that's funny. Oh, and that's funny. But there's no funny left like for anybody else because he gets all the good lines. So that one was really a lot of fun to write. And I really enjoyed like taking Wick, my main heroine, like a lot darker in Remember Me. Like it's, I mean, it's a quasi spoiler, but like she actually is involved in a murder, and so pretty much I felt like it was very, very justified. So it was kind of fun, like walking over that line and like what would drive you to do something like that. So Remember Me took a turn for the darker, and I really enjoyed that a lot. That was a lot of fun for me to write.
And the next, I feel so out of the loop because I haven't read all the books yet. just completely horrendous. Okay, let's see. Does it bother you when YA writers dumb down their plots? Amy?
Okay, if I go, well, you know what? I don't know that I run into a lot of YA writers that do that, quite honestly. Like, I'm always continuously amazed at how great the writing is in YA. So I don't know that I see that so much necessarily. You know, I think sometimes, you know, you have that situation where you feel pressured to sort of spread it out over books instead of condensing to one book. But I wouldn't call it dumbing down. If anything, like I said, there's several writers that I have writerly angst when I read, and April's one of them with The Devil in Deep Blue Sea, because I'm like, I would love to be able to write like that. I can't write like that. So I think I have that problem. Like, I see Libba Bray, I see certain people that they floor me with how well they do. So
it's the shame spirals.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, I think also with YA, there's really a good connection with the readers, and I feel like YA does that. It really, you know, brings in that connection. You know, we have these books where there's multiple plot threads going, but you in the book and you don't have that. You don't feel closer to the character necessarily. You feel distant still. So I think that it's not necessarily dumbing down. I just think that there's definitely YA has that feel of connecting with the characters and, you know, just, you know, reaching people deeper in a deeper way. So I love that about YA, and that's why I love writing YA, because you can do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Maybe they were thinking about a particular book. Hopefully it wasn't my book. But I feel like in YA, the reason why I read so much of it is the plots are awesome. They're just go, 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 go. And I'm definitely a plot girl. So as long as people are doing things, you know, I can forgive a book many, many things as long as the plot keeps progressing. So I feel like YA, especially in whatever genre YA, is really good at that. So
yeah, I'm going to have to agree with the others as well. Like, there's just something that's really special about YA. I mean, like, the way there's some really fantastic writing that's going on in the YA market, you know, that you really don't see necessarily in the adult market at all. I read voraciously, and my favorite stuff routinely seems to be the YA. I mean, I know that sometimes, like, readers get really confused about why we make decisions. Like, I'll speak from personal experience. There have been a fair number of people who have criticized me for having romance in my first book. Or in Find Me, we had to pump it up per the request of my editor and per the request of Barnes & Noble, because when they read it, they were like, we'd like to see more kissing. So when Barnes & Noble asks you to, you know, please figure out a way to put in more kissing, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I can figure that out. I write, you know, like thrillers, so I don't really think it's particularly like appropriate to have like, oh my gosh, we're running from the bad guy, let's make out. Like, no, that's stupid. You know, it drives me nuts. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, you know, romantic suspense. You know, the serial killer's right outside the cabin. You know, it's like, let's make out. You know, like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, it's like the girl in the horror movie who, you know, it's creepy in the house, so she decides to take a shower. Drives me bonkers. But, you know, it's like there were ways that we could kind of slide more romance in there, and sort of, you know, that would satisfy what my editor was looking for in a way that I felt like it really worked for the story. So but yeah, sometimes people are like, well, why did you put the romance in there at all? Well, because it came at a request, from, my team, and, where it is a team process, to put these books together. I don't necessarily ever think that anybody would deliberately dumb down a book. Sometimes we have to streamline stuff. But gosh, yeah, it's, I'm still going to stick with, I think some of the smartest writing around right now is in YA.
Okay. The next question is, for those of you who have romance in your books, did you have any issues with going too far with it? Were you afraid that the book was going to be more rated via NA versus YA? If you understand that question.
Oh God, mine's like rated G. It's because same thing. I write thrillers, and this particular group was so enclosed that they were like very naive as a group. So there was none of that like very smexy, smutty kind of stuff going on, because they're worried about the end of the world, and like sex is kind of the last thing on their minds until they seal themselves underground, maybe, and then maybe they would think about it. But so for me, I'll pass on that one.
Yeah, I mean, for me too, mine was is like totally rated G as well. And actually, I had the opposite issue, kind of like Romily, where I had to add in more romance. I didn't have to do as much for book 2 because it felt more natural in a sense, because the relationship had developed in book 1. But in book 1, it was hard for me to bring in the romance and bring in that connection naturally. So that took a lot of work for me. And, so I don't know. I mean, and plus my book is very action-packed. I mean, it's a fantasy, contemporary fantasy, but it also has thriller aspects to it. So, I mean, there's a lot of fight scenes, and they're running around and doing crazy stuff, and, like, she's doing taekwondo. I'm like, this is not, like you were saying, this is not a time for kissing right now. So, yeah, it just wouldn't really work. So that was also my dilemma. So, yeah, it's very similar to, what she was saying.
For my books, the first one especially, there's very little romance in it. Sort of like Amy's book, it's the end of the world, and my main character is mostly focused on survival. She's not focused on, boys and making out with boys and all of that. In the second book, there is a romance, and there wasn't really anything I had to pull back on, except the place that she goes to, there's not very many women, and they're sort of treated as property. So I sort of had to walk a fine line in what I wanted to do there, because I wanted my main character to remain strong and, portray women as strong, which they are, even in horrible situations. But there's also just the realistic of what would happen. What if this happened? How would women be treated in this scenario? So it was a little bit difficult to do that, and hopefully I did it well.
All right, well, I guess I'm going to be the outlier then. Maybe it's because I came from a Romance Writers of America background. Yeah, there's a fair amount of like kissing and other stuff that happens, especially like in the second one, because I knew I needed to heighten that romantic tension. It was one of the things they requested. I actually ended up using, there's a particular shower scene where it's coming off of, she ended up in a really stressful situation, broke into a house, found a dead body. She's extremely shaken up about it, and so she almost kind of used kissing and like that contact almost as a way to sort of drive out sort of like her anxiety that she was going through. Ultimately it didn't work, and she ends up having an anxiety attack on the floor. Gosh, I was a little worried about that scene, that it might actually push it a little bit toward that new adult sort of territory, simply because it was dealing with clothes coming off and things like that. But I felt like it still kind of worked, because I mean, it's like you're dealing with 2 teenagers who have been dating for about like 3 months at this point. And I mean, maybe I hang out with teenagers who are like, why not? It seemed like it worked kind of naturally, for that situation. So yeah, I went for it.
I like
it's
that.
like a
Yeah,
silence. It's like, oh no. Did we let in here?
Well, Well, you never know what you're going to get in some of these. I read a book, and I was about a little bit more than halfway through it. And, yeah, the first half of it was teen. The last half, not so much. And that was like a slap in the face. I was reading them, and I was like, whoa. I wasn't ready for that. So you never know. Then I found out it wasn't teen. And I was like, okay, problem solved. But that was just really, really creepy. Okay, the next one is, do you have a daily goal of how much you have to write?
Yeah, I guess it's me again, right? Yes, and it changes depending on when my deadline is. This time my goal was like extremely high. So for me, anyway, I write really, really slowly, and I like to revise as I go. So 2,000 is my comfortable goal. That's what I try to get to every day normally. And now it was more like 4,000 to 6,000, which for me is killer hard, and I have massive headaches by the end of the day because I have a hard time coming up with everything for 6,000 words per day, 5 to 6 to 7 days a week. But normally 2,000 per day, 5 to 6 times a week.
Yeah, that's the same for me. Like when I was working, when I was teaching, I would try to do 1,000 words a day at night. But now that I'm not, my goal is 2,000 in the morning on one project. I'm actually doing 2 projects at the same time. So I do 2,000 in the morning, and then I'm revising something else in the afternoon. So, it's a little, I would prefer just doing one project, just doing the 2,000 words a day. But I don't know, they're different, so that helps. And I'm doing one's a first draft, and one is a revision. So they do bring, in a sense, a different part of my brain. I work differently in those situations. So yeah, it helps.
For me, I don't really have a daily word count goal. I do it. I'm probably the only author on the planet who does this, but I do it by pages, which doesn't make any sense because you could have varying amounts of words in 10 pages. But I usually try to get 10 pages done. And if I'm doing 2 chapters in 10 pages, you can have a lot of white space. So I know it's kind of like a way to, I guess, trick myself that I'm doing more than I am sometimes. But for me, it just seems so much more satisfying to me to look at the page count than it does the word count. So yeah, and I don't write every day. Sometimes get really inspired and I write a lot in one day, and then I take a couple days off to think about what I've just written. I'm definitely a just get it all on the page type of writer, and then I go back and edit. So I guess I would say I write more quickly, but at the same time that I have to go back and put in the work to edit what I've written.
Yeah, for me, definitely I have a word count. If I don't hit it, you don't want to be around me because I'm miserable to be around. I'm so grouchy. So no, I typically try to do 2,000 words a day if I'm working on one project, which I'm a slow writer, so sometimes like 2,000 words, I swear it takes me like 4 to 5 hours. It drives me nuts. I guess it would probably be different if I would actually outline and I would actually have a clue of what I'm about to write before I sit down. That would be helpful probably, but sadly no. But like if I'm working on 2 projects at once, typically it's like 1,500 words for each project, so like for a total of 3,000 for the day, which, it gives you a headache, but doesn't it kind of make you like mentally tired? Amy, like when you get to the end and you're like, yeah, I've got that headache.
It's like surfacing from underwater.
Yes. It's like, but it's like I don't get the insomnia quite as badly, like if I really blow through some heavy word count. So it's like, I guess there's an upside to it, aside from being, the downside definitely is being cross-eyed and being like, I have no idea what I'm going to write the next day.
The next question is, let's see. Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Oh gosh, I don't know. So many places. We just had this discussion, my husband and I, today, and he's like, slow down. I went to go see Gone Girl this weekend, so I'm like, in 5 years, I would love to be her. I would love to be writing YA and adult and like sort of going between the two worlds. I would love to have something that somebody thinks is awesome enough to make into a movie, but of course, like, I have zero control over that part of it. But I am trying to write. My goal is to write 1 to 2 books every single year and hopefully get them picked up. But again, you can write the 1 to 2 and then you hope they get picked up, but that's not always something I can make happen either. So I see myself still writing. I know that much, and I see myself still writing YA, but hopefully adding the adult aspect as well. So.
Yeah, same. It's very similar goals for myself. Like I would like to keep writing full time. That would be wonderful, and I would like to bring out 2 books a year if I could. I'm playing around with some other middle grade, and I've been asked to do some other types of projects. So I'm just gonna see what happens with those and go from there. And my agent keeps bugging me about writing an adult thriller, which would be a blast. I'd have a lot of fun with it, but my comfort level definitely is YA, so it would have to be, I have to really play around with that and see where I would go. But, I love connecting with readers and traveling and going to schools and going to festivals, so I would love to continue that as well. So, yeah, we'll see what goes, what happens. So, I'm excited about what's happening in the future.
I think for me, I would be happy in 5 years if I was exactly where I am now, on my couch with my computer writing. I'm very happy with publishing YA. I'm not sure if I even want to branch out into any other, adult or middle grade or anything like that. It was always, my dream to publish YA, and I'm living that dream. So hopefully in 5 years, I am still here and writing full time. So I'd be very happy if everything stays the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I would really like to. I'm writing full time now. I couldn't balance the corporate job with the writing, so I took the plunge, and that was like super scary for me. But now that I've kind of settled into the idea that I only have like one job, and it's the writing. Wow, is this how everybody else lives when they have one job? You know what I mean? It's like, this is awesome. It's like when you were, like when you were teaching, for instance, it's like, and then you come home and then you've got your other, and you got to write 1,000 words. Exactly. So it's like I would commute back in from Atlanta and then have to sit there and be like, okay, I've already done like 12 hours, at work, counting my commute, and now I've got to knock out, like word count. So I would really like to continue writing full time. This is awesome. I feel like it's like worked really hard to get here. I will have to continue to work really hard to be able to stay here. So hopefully I'll still be writing, but who knows? I mean, at the rate I'm going, I may just conk out, like in the next couple of years. I've already got a bald spot that like I'm calling like it's the Find Me trilogy bald spot. So if my hair keeps coming out, it's like the stress levels, like who knows? You guys can get like you're gonna hear about it on Twitter about like, oh, Romily Bernard just conked out, like we cannot revive her at the end of that. So.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
The bald spot is not great, I'm telling you. It's awful. I'm having to fluff. I need to bump it.
Bump it.
Let's see. The next question is, have you read the Harry Potter series?
Absolutely. I read it when my kids were crying it out in their crib. We were doing the whole, like, try to keep them in the crib all night thing. So shows you how old I am, basically. But she would be crying all night, and to console myself, because I was a total wuss and wanted to go get her, I would read Harry Potter in the other room and try to, like, ignore the crying. So, isn't that depressing sounding, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, one of the things, like, my son he is now 11, and so we are talking about, like, talking about reading with him and doing it all over again and like experiencing the whole series again through his eyes. I'm really excited about that. And there's something about, reading it with your son after you've experienced it. So he's just now kind of edging into the YA market, and it's so fun. I love it. I'm like, okay, we got to read this now together. So I'm really enjoying that. And yeah, I mean, he loves fantasy too. So we're going to have a lot of fun with reading these. I'm going to have fun reading the series again, and he's going to have fun reading it for the first time.
Oh, Demitria left.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
She left us. We scared her with Harry Potter.
I guess I'll jump in. I definitely read all the Harry Potters. Personally, I think my childhood was like severely lacking because I got them in college, like first little bit of college. So Yeah, but how cool would it have been to like grow up with it the way some of the bloggers have, where it's like one came out every year and you kind of aged with Harry Potter. I missed out. Like, I'm bitter about this. Like, that would have been amazing. So yeah, read all of them, loved them. I think she's amazing.
Yeah.
I've only read book 2.
Oh, she doesn't enjoy it?
No, you've seen the other books above my shelf. I haven't gotten to it. God, I think by the time that they were completely out, I vaguely remember people standing outside when Barnes & Noble was here. And this one lady, she had like the noise canceling, like the big headphones, like what you see like construction workers wear, and she had them on so nobody could yell out spoilers to her who had already read it.
Wow.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
I'm like, I knew I purposefully went into the store and read the last chapter to make sure she didn't kill him off, because I know that was one of the big things that was going around, that she was going to kill Harry Potter off so nobody 30 or 40 years down the line could come back and write stuff about him. It's like, you think killing him off is going to make any difference? Nobody's going to care. Okay, the next question, the last question of today before we get into the roundup is there any book to movie adaptation that you would have really that you really liked or that you really want to see happen? Amy.
Well, like I said, I just saw Gone Girl, and
I don't know if you guys are talking to me or if you can hear me, but I lost sound. Sorry.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Clearly, I am not that awesome with technology because I have no idea what happened, and now I can't hear anyone.
Okay, so, but yeah, Gone Girl is the one that I just saw in the movies just yesterday, and so well done. And the author did the screenplay too, and she's brilliant as an author, and she did such a great job with the screenplay. But the adaptation was great. I mean, they changed the ending, but actually, I really, really enjoyed the film. It was great. So that would be my pick right now.
And is there like some series out there other than your own that you would really like to see turned into a movie?
Yeah, you know what? I really liked Rebel by, Reboot and Rebel by Amy Tintera. So I know that there's always the chance.
Ooh, okay. I can't hear anyone, but I got the question typed to me, which is awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. Ooh, what movie adaptation? So what book do I want to see made into a movie? I'm trying to think of one that I've seen that was really good too. I feel like the best book to movie adaptation ever was Jurassic Park, because that movie was so fantastic, and I still see it on TV, and if it's on like TNT or whatever, I have to stop and watch it. So that's probably my favorite one. I used to watch that movie a million times when I was little. For a book I would like to see made into a movie, I really like the Game of Thrones adaptation. So they already did that, and I liked Outlander. Did anyone see Outlander? That was pretty awesome. Oh. So I feel like a lot of the books are working better as series instead of movies.
Sorry, Amy.
I'm good. I was good.
Okay. I was trying to figure out what titles you're talking about. I had to go look it up. And I'm like, oh, Reboot! Oh, wow. I'm like not with it today.
There's one coming out now called Beware the Wild by Natalie Parker, and that's a really good book as well that I think would make a really cool movie. So.
I Want Throne of Glass by Sarah M. Maas, or Sarah J. Maas, and I'm attempting to finish the third book in that series. It's awesome.
Cool.
Christina?
So sorry, I got thinking about movies. Of course, I love the Divergent movie. I thought they did a really good job with that. I like it when they stay true to the book, and I think they really nailed it for that. And yeah, I think basically, I always tell my husband, I'm like, you know what, all the really good movies are from books. I mean, of course, I'm slightly biased, but I really feel that the books really delve into great characterization. The plot story is really well done. So, and it's not as predictable, because usually I can sit there and watch a movie and I'm like, I know what the end's going to be like before we get there, and I hate that. So, and then as to a book that I would love to be a movie would be Beth Revis's Across the Universe series. I love all her books, and I just think that we could have some fun with some space books, and yeah, that'd be cool.
Romily?
Well, I don't know. I think personally, like I've been kind of like my gold standard was sort of like satisfied because I got to see Hunger Games, and I'm like waiting with breathless anticipation for Mockingjay. Like,
True.
yeah.
Mockingjays gonna make me cry though.
No.
I know. I'm waiting for it. It's gonna be awesome. She's such an amazing author.
She likes to cry.
I was like in there bawling my eyes out when Prim died. When Rue died. Oh my god.
Yeah. No, I Jessica will remember this. Like I think I'm the only person on the face of the planet who loathed Outlander. So I get like testy every time I see it come across Twitter, and I want to start Twitter fights with people, but I don't because I'm trying very hard to be respectful that that's a book they loved. But it's a book I hate so much. I just
well then I won't show you that. They're behind me.
I haven't read them. I'm there to read them.
I mean, you'll have to read it. You might love it, and you'll be like, I'm never speaking to her again. But I'm in the minority.
Don't tell me that. I have all of them.
Oh, wow.
They're so huge.
So sorry. But I would like to fill an entire like plastic bag with those books and beat Jamie around the head. How about that? Like for
that would be interesting. I would like to see you do that one time. Like video yourself and put on Twitter.
Seriously? That would probably go viral for all the wrong reasons.
So what's one that you would like to see that isn't out yet? That isn't a movie yet?
I think Natalie Richards' Gone Too Far. It's not out yet, but it's in ARC. So if you can score one, oh my gosh, it's Vigilante.
I think I have an ARC of that.
Oh, you've got to read this so we can fangirl. It's so good. It's so creepy. Like, it really does seem like something that could actually happen, which makes the whole thing so cool. But I have to agree also, I think Beware the Wild is amazing. I got to read an early version of, not an early version, it was an early ARC that came out, and I think Natalie Parker is all kinds of amazing. That book was just fantastic as far as I'm concerned. I'm eagerly looking forward to pushing it on people.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book.
Can't you see that being like a really wonderful atmospheric movie?
Oh, yeah.
Really would.
Very gothic, very cool.
Romy, what was the title of that book?
Gone Too Far, Natalie Richards. It's fantastic. Oh my gosh.
Who did you say it was by? Sorry.
Natalie Richards. She did 6 months later. She was a Yalza-pick.
Oh, yeah, I know I have that one.
Yeah, it's really good.
That was really good. Okay, let's see. That is the last question for today. So we're going to go into this. Okay, so the crazy question for today was, what is something that each author collects? So since a lot of them don't collect anything, hold on a second. Demitria can't hear us, so I have to type everything in for her. Let's see. Go on. Okay. So a lot of, I guess they don't collect a lot of things, so I just let them pick something that they want to show and tell. So, Amy, you're up first.
Oh, God, of course. Okay, but I went with collect, and I am not like this creative to come up with nothing else, though. I collect cookbooks. I don't cook, though, all that often. So I have, like, a ton of cookbooks, and I don't make anything except, like, chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese, because that's what my kids like. But I can show you my daughter collects these little things. They're called squishies. They're like little bread kind of, I don't know. They're like little, they're squishy. That's all they are. But she collects them, and she does these little videos with them, and it's a whole thing on the internet. So I'll show her collection, not mine.
There you go. Well, you're not, at least I know I'm not the weird person out. Cedar Forts, they keep sending me things to review their cookbooks, so I started grabbing them from everywhere. So I have, like, an entire table overflowing with cookbooks, from soda fountain cookbooks to bread to tons of stuff.
Wow.
I could probably open up a restaurant.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be like this awesome gourmet, and then I get all the recipes, and I'm like, oh, I got to, like, grocery shop. This is kind of work, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, like one of the bread, because I wanted to start making bread by hand, and it's like you have a 10-gallon food bucket. Where are you gonna find that? And then has to sit for 3 days.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that. It's like, no, so it just goes on the shelf. It looks pretty. Christina.
Yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with Star Wars. Yeah. So I used to teach, and my whole classroom was Star Wars. So I have a lot of Star Wars stuff all around my house. But here in my office, I even have a Star Wars clock. I won't take it down to show you, but I have Star Wars lunchbox, and I have Star Wars M&Ms, which is amazing that there is any in here because I like chocolate too.
But at least you actually eat them out of there.
Yeah.
I know people, they'll just like leave it in there because it's a collector's item.
Oh.
Like,
No, it's
No.
chocolate. We have to eat that. I mean, I would collect chocolate too, but I have to eat it, so that doesn't really work out well. But I also have an R2-D2. I got this in Disney, and I have all those little guys. I even have a lightsaber. I would do some moves for you, but no, I'm not. And this is even autographed by Darth Vader, although it's getting kind of, no, you can't really see it. I think I'm using the lightsaber too much. Like when I get really frustrated. No, really.
See, I would have put that in like a case. I have a Ravenclaw jacket that the girl that plays Luna Lovegood signed it earlier this year when I was at Universal. It just happened to be that she was getting ready to leave, and it's like I have to buy a new one now.
Wow.
I won't even wash it. I don't want it to die.
That's pretty cool. Oh, I even have like little boxes. This one says Miss Farley, because my students made this for me, but they have little princess. Can you see it? They're so cute. Sorry.
That is so cool looking.
I mean, I could talk about Star Wars all day, but that wouldn't be a good idea. So.
Okay, and Demitria. Let's see if she...
Oh, it's my turn, right? Yes? Thumbs up? Yes? Okay. Awesome. Okay, sorry, my sound is still not working. So when Jessica said that we were supposed to show something that we collect, I was not really sure what I would show because I'm not a collector at all. I am very minimalistic. But this is going to be kind of lame since I'm a writer and obviously this is a show about books. Just sitting here, I always have a book within reaching distance. Always. Which is ridiculous.
Oh,
it's the one thing that I have in my house that's just out of control. So anywhere I would have chosen to sit with this computer, there would have been a book to grab. So I guess that has to be my one thing I collect, books.
Yeah, I would. I'd probably have to say like books too for me. But I do pop art. Like I kind of stalk Etsy for like really good pop art. You see my latest one? It's for the Goonies.
Oh, that they're making a book, part 2 to that.
I'm so excited. Like on the one hand, I feel like it's sacrilege, and the other hand, like I'm like super excited. But yeah, like I do pop art. Like I really like sort of like punny or imaginative like reinventions of like old movie posters and stuff like that. But yeah, which is odd that I'd be into art considering like I could live probably on lawn chairs and really not care, but by God I have like art on my walls. It's kind of random. It's still kind of like a college dorm room around here. And yet there's like, you know, individual art.
Okay, we had a late question that it's a good question, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it anyway. Is there a book that's out, and it can be any book, that you would love to change the ending to? Like you despise the ending for whatever reason and you want to rewrite it and change the ending to it? I wanted to do that with Tech Everlasting. I hated the ending of that thing. I was so pissed.
I don't know. I tend to like bad endings. I mean, like endings that aren't super neat and tidy, or you know, are a little bit traumatizing. I don't know. I'm twisted, I guess. So I don't know if I can think of a book that I just threw on the floor and said, "Oh, I wish it didn't end that way." I guess I should read Outlander, maybe. Maybe I don't know.
That's the one. You know, I'll throw Outlander out the window. Yeah, I guess, you know, I also love to see how an author will do a really unusual ending and something really different and unique. And I mean, I get really annoyed with endings that are too like neat as well. And also too, like, we can see this from the very beginning. So, yeah, I always have something different. Although I have to admit, for the Divergent series, I wasn't really thrilled with the ending. I wasn't real happy with that. So, but I wouldn't have her change it. I would think, you know what? What's meant to be, that is how the book is supposed to be. So, yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me type this in for Demitria. My question is, I don't know if I can type today.
You get your 2,000 words in.
Ooh, that's a hard one. There are definitely books that I would like to change the covers to.
Oh my god, yes.
I never read the Gone series by Michael Grant because the first book looks like it's a Christian romance, which is fine for people who love Christian romance, but and that's totally a book that I love, and I love the whole series. But I don't think the cover really told the story of the book. I don't know about title-wise.
I put title.
I feel like longer titles aren't as catching, so I feel like people should always shorten their titles, maybe.
Except
yeah,
for the devil.
I can't type today.
On the end of the book. Okay, guys, this is so hard not being able to hear what people are saying. Change the end.
Yeah.
Any book in which the dog dies, then that ending needs to be changed so that the dog doesn't die. Even, what is it, Sounder?
Yeah.
Old Yeller?
Old Yeller.
No.
Oh, I hate that book. I forgot about that book. I was scarred over it. Yeah.
Demitria, you're my new hero. I know you can't hear me say that, but yes, any time the dog dies, we need to have an intervention with the writer.
This is cruel.
So I guess for me, probably my pick would be Outlander, except I never read the end of it because I got to a certain point in the book and I was like, oh heck no, and I actually I threw the book. I got really, really angry with it. I usually treat books like holy little things. If you borrow one of my books, you better not crease it up, otherwise, there's going to be bloodshed. I mean, it's bad. So all of them look like in perfect condition. Yeah, that one I totally mashed it up, and I don't think I threw it out. I think I gave it away, but yeah, I would actually have to read the ending, which I didn't. So yeah, but that's probably my contribution to this particular question. As usual, I'm super professional. I apologize.
You're fine. No, for what Demitria was saying, because I messed up on the thing. I'm sorry to say this, but Gated, the original cover to Gated freaked me out. Not Gated.
It had a zombie feel.
Gated, yeah, that's Gated. Yes, that book, the cover to that book just freaked me out to no end.
Wait, does it freak you out that in my dining room it's hanging up in there? I have that cover with the eye and the whole, yes. It doesn't freak me out though. I work in there and I could see it in the mirror, so I guess it could, maybe if I got creeped out by that kind of thing.
I thought it was so striking. It was one of the first ones that I really looked at and I was like, wow.
It definitely makes you want to look at the book, though. But I like this cover better. It's pretty. It's still creepy, though. Her hair's in her face.
Yeah, I like the new covers, too. It doesn't look zombie. The other one, I think you could have thought it was a zombie book or just, more dystopian since it's contemporary. It definitely has that vibe that it's not contemporary. But the new one, I think, looks contemporary, so.
So pretty. All these covers are gorgeous.
They are. Everybody's got good covers. I think Christy, I love the tiger on Silvern. It's one of my favorites.
I just didn't like this when I made up the banner because her face completely just disappeared in the black.
Right.
It was just gone.
Like
Okay, so then the last section of this is your shout out. You can shout out to anybody you like. Amy.
Like Stephen King? Hey, Stephen King!
That works. Anybody you want.
I have no idea. I guess I'll shout out to anybody who's read Gated and Astray. Thanks for reading. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah, ditto on that. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Hugs and kisses. No. No. Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great seeing, like, connecting with readers and online. I love that. I love that I can do that with Twitter. And, I just hope I can get a chance to see people in person over the next year or so, too. So, yeah.
Well, for me, you're like, you and Amy are easy authors because you actually live in Florida.
That's true. We can harass you anytime we want.
You pretty much can. I'm home all the time, so unless I'm at Universal, then I'm not home.
There you go.
Okay, let's see.
Hi everyone. Sorry I suck so much at technology, and I just sat here looking clueless for half the time.
You were like super calm. I would have been spazzing over here. Like I would have looked panic. You looked good.
Absolute meltdown.
Yeah, I would be like running around in circles.
Romily?
I think I would just say, thanks to anybody who was watching. I really appreciate everyone who read Find Me and Remember Me and Live for me. Thank you guys so very much. And Jessica, thank you so much for putting this together and having all of us on. We really appreciate you.
No problem.
We wouldn't be where we are without you guys. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You three plus Sherry Flicklin have like the best shows that I've ever had, other than Jennifer Almentrott. But she's like in a whole nother ball game, So I love having you ladies on, and it's so much nicer because you guys know what to do already and how everything works. So it's way easy, and then you guys can tell your friends and get more and different authors on, like Mindy did. We have my shout out for today is to Mindy McGinnis. Thank you so much for getting Demitria on the show. Woohoo! New blood. And the last thing for today is, do any of the authors have questions for our viewers at all? Do you have any questions from your fans? Anybody?
No.
Ask Demitria. Nobody has any questions for their fans? You don't want to know anything?
No.
They don't have a pin drop on this thing,
Where's the applause?
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming on. For those of you who are following, the Rafflecopter is up. It will actually go until the end of this month. And each winner, there will be 4 winners for the actual show, and each winner will obtain a copy of both Book 1 and Book 2. If by chance you already have a copy of Book 1 or Book 2, either or, if you do not want an extra copy, just let me know and I will pick an extra winner. I've had that happen a few times. I think all of the copies are signed. I'm pretty sure that all of them are signed. I'll have to check again. But if you do not get to snag one via the show's giveaway, if you follow my site and come back in about a week or so, probably the first week of November, you can enter the secondary giveaway, which will be via each title, and it will be for the copies, 1 copy of Book 2 for that via the review. And thank you, ladies, again for coming on. It's such a blast having you guys
here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. It was awesome.
All right. I did have one other extra question really quick here. Does anybody have a street team?
I wish I were that organized.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
I have a family team. Does that count? My mom is probably my street team.
Yeah.
She sells my book harder than anyone.
Yeah, my dad.
I don't understand the question.